everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Tamara and it's my son, my new son down here, Caius. He was like screaming his head off, so I had to feed him during this video. This is his birth story. My mother was planning to come a week before I was going to have a scheduled C-section with him, because my husband was supposed to be gone to an army school for a month and a half during, like, at the end of my pregnancy, and he was going to miss, like, his birth and the first month of Caius's life. But then COVID-19 happened, and his school got canceled because Army stopped, well, the DOD stopped service members and everybody that has to work with the government from traveling. And I think the date was until like May 30th or something like that. So we're like, yay, he gets to stay. But then they start getting all these restrictions. You know, every state's different, but our state like went on lockdown during it all, and they changed the policy of when people came in. So if you flew in from another state or drove in from another state, you were supposed to be quarantined for 14 days. I might have to like cut this a million times because my children keep being loud in the living room right now. My other two. So anyway, so then we were like, oh no, like my mother won't be able to make it in because my mom lives across the state, or across the country on the West Coast, and we live on the East Coast. She was still able to fly in, and so she like kept her flight for the scheduled time she was supposed to come in, and then it got canceled. And so she rebooked it, and then that one was up in the air to get canceled. And so April 4th came, and she was supposed to be coming April 7th, I believe, or April 8th. I think it was April 8th she was scheduled to fly in. Anyway, so I was telling her like how I was starting to hurt more, and I was trying to get the house like organized for her to come, you know, the following week, because this was Saturday night that I was telling her this on the phone, and she kept going, don't worry about it, stop trying to do all this stuff before I get there. I understand that you haven't been able to do like everything. So I was trying to do like, you know, get all the dishes in order and clean everything and get like her bedding ready for when she stays here and all that. But yeah, so I did as much as I could. And then my husband was gone all day. He was at his grandparents' house. He went over there for dinner and helped them, I think, move stuff. I don't remember why he went over there, but he was over there till like midnight. And then he came home, and I was still awake. And I felt fine. I was still like doing my normal hurting. And I had the last half of the pregnancy, I could not sleep because it would hurt to sleep like on my side. Like my hips and stuff were killing me every night. So I always kind of, like, you think it would be all comfortable to lay down and sleep, but it wasn't. It was not comfortable to lay down at all. So that's why I stood a lot this pregnancy. But anyway, so he came out at midnight, and then he went to bed, and then I went to bed, and then at like 3 o'clock in the morning, like I was hurting so bad, like I thought it was just like Braxton Hicks. I was like, oh, it'll go away. So I got up and like went and drank some water because that's supposed to help. And it's supposed to help if you move around because, you know, I was laying down sleeping for like 3 hours. So I thought that would help. And it didn't help. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go take a shower. Maybe that'll relax me. And that didn't help. And the pains kept coming really close together. And I was like, oh no, like, I'm having contractions, like real contractions. And they were always like 2 to 3 minutes apart because I kept timing them. So then I waited till like 4 o'clock in the morning to wake my husband up. And he was like, oh, I've been up this whole time. Because he was sleeping in the basement because our son's taking over our bedroom. And you can see him right here. And he was like, oh, I'd been up because you woke me up. Like going to getting in the shower and all that stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I think it's time. So then I started putting like all my stuff together because I wasn't ready. Like I gotten my suitcase and I had packed like all the stuff that I knew I wasn't going to use at home. Like I was only going to use it at the hospital. I didn't need it. I didn't need it every day. So then I had to pack all my everyday stuff and then make sure I had some of the other stuff that I just hadn't put in the bag yet. And so I was like, oh, I'm glad I started planning like what I was gonna put in the bags, and had already purchased them because this time, like, you couldn't just go out to the store and buy stuff. And me being pregnant, I was trying to limit my time leaving the house and going into public. And so I had like most of it, but some of the stuff I was still waiting for to come in the mail. Yeah, so I just had to do without that stuff. So I packed all my stuff, and we kept trying to call his mom because she lives down the street. And mind you, my mom hadn't flown in yet. And the reason why she was flying in because my in-laws, they work a lot. And they just can't take off, to watch our kids. And they had already shut schools down. We were already 3 weeks into schools being shut down. So my kids are at home. And yeah, so they needed someone to keep them during the day. That's why my mom was flying in. And she was going to fly in anyways because my husband was supposed to be here. So we had to call my in-laws, and then we had to get the kids all ready and get them extra change of clothes because we didn't know the protocol at the hospital because it changes day to day, like what they do and don't allow. And they were still trying to figure out like what was going to be allowed or not. And so I for sure knew that I would only be able to have one visitor the whole time, which was my husband, to be there the whole time. But we didn't know like the rules on coming and going and all that because they hadn't changed that. So then, yeah, so we dropped the kids off with extra change of clothes, and my son had extra diapers because he's still in diapers. He's only 2. So they ended up staying the day at my in-laws' house while we went to the hospital. And mind you, I was 38 weeks exactly. That's why I didn't think like it was going to happen that quick, even though I was going to, because, I was supposed to go in at 39 and a half weeks to have my C-section. So anyway, so then we dropped them off. We got to the hospital, and it was like so weird, like seeing everybody in masks, because I hadn't really been anywhere, so I didn't see so many people in masks before. And we were like the only ones that were in there, besides like the security guard and then like the person that intakes you into triage there. So yes, so the hospital here for where you give birth at is just women and infants hospital. So you don't have to worry about other people coming in there sick with anything. Just women and infants. So yeah, we were the only ones in there when we entered. And then they took me into the triage area. And my husband had to stay outside while I went in. And they took my temperature and all that stuff. And then they let him come in when they decided that it was go time. I already knew it was go time because I was in labor, so I knew I was going to be admitted so I could have my C-section. And yeah, so then they let him in, and then we stayed in triage for an hour and a half or so while I was having these contractions, and they were getting worse and worse and worse, and I was like, I just want drugs, But we had to wait for anesthesiology to come, and we had to wait for an OR to be open because they took me straight to the OR after because they had me change my clothes already, and they put my IV in, and the person for anesthesiology came and talked to me just about like what was gonna happen. And so instead of an epidural, they gave me a spinal tap, which is different, I guess. And it was really weird. So anyway, so they wheeled me up to the OR, and then my husband had to stay in the hallway. And oh yeah, and they already had him put the little paper scrubs on before he even went up there. So then he had to wait in the hallway until it was like go time for me. So I was sitting there in the OR, and the interesting thing was like all women in there, that were in there, like instead of like men and women. Anyway, so my doctor, he was there, and then his shift was over, I guess, by the time I got there. And so I got whoever was on call next. So I went in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, please hurry. They were trying to like put all this stuff, where it needed to be and reconfirm with me. And then I had already previously at a doctor's appointment said that I wanted my tubes tied, and then the doctor was like, no, removed. So because I guess they've been having people, I like researched it. A lot of people were coming up that had their tubes tied. They were still ended up pregnant. So a way to just not worry about that happening is to get them removed completely. So that's what I opted to do, is get them removed completely, so I wouldn't have any percentage of the possibility of being pregnant again. And so that's what I did. But they couldn't find like my paper that I had signed the consent for it. So then I had to sign like a new one. And then they kept asking me like a million times, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? So once I signed the consent and everything, we were good to go on that. And finally, I was able to get the spinal tap done. And it was like the weirdest feeling. First, they stick you with a needle to numb your area, which that stung a little. But it felt better than having contractions every 2 minutes. And then they inserted the spinal tap needle. And then every time she inserted, she asked me like if it hurt on the left or right side, like in my back. And so I had to tell her where it hurt each time. And then I think after like the 4th try or something, it finally worked where I didn't feel anything. And then as soon as they stuck it in, I said, I'm good to go. They like shoot the medicine in there, and you can kind of feel that. And then they're like, hurry up and lay down. And then they just put me down real quickly on my back, because I guess they do that because it's going to rush through my legs and stuff if I'm laying flat. And then I couldn't feel anything. And they put the screen up and everything and washed my stomach and put that stuff, I don't know. All that stuff you don't see them doing. But they were telling me as they were doing it. And then they put like warm towels on my arms and stuff because you get cold in there. It's like a reaction to the anesthesia stuff. And the room is freezing. So then I was ready to go. And then once I was ready to go, they called my husband in. And he was sitting next to me. And then, they got to work. And then he was out quick. And by this time, it was like 9 something. He was born at like 9:56 in the morning. So I probably got there at like 5:30 or 6 almost. And had him by 9:56. So it was really quick. It's really quick once you're in there. And then after they got him out and they weighed him and showed me all that, they removed my tubes, which was quick too. It was like another extra 5 to 10 minutes. And they sewed me back up, and there I was done. And my husband went with the baby first to the recovery room. And then I followed. But the craziest thing was when they pulled him out, they were like, wow, the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck 4 times. I couldn't believe they said that. But I said, I guess it's normal for it to happen. I mean, not that many times, but that's what happened. I was just in total shock. And yeah, he seemed fine. He still seems fine. But I don't know why it was 4 times. Maybe that's why he was like ready to come out so early. Because he was like, I can't take this anymore. And he had been head down since like 24 weeks. So that's how he was born. And he, it was like the weirdest thing. Like, so maybe like a couple hours after he was born, like some pediatrician lady came in and she had like students with her. And they took her baby and they set up there and like were naming off all like the skin conditions he had that is common with babies that they get when they're born. And some babies get like 1 or 2 of them or none of them. Tell me why my child had like all of them. So his skin looks so bad. He has like the worst baby acne right now. And I'm filming these videos are probably gonna be all out of order. But he's like a month and a half years old now. So 6 weeks. 6, almost 7 weeks old. And yeah, his skin is so bad on his face. A lot of it is healed, like, so he had like really bad right in the front right here. And they went away and they're healed, but now it's all flaking off. It's like the strangest thing. So I've been trying to put like Dove lotion on it. Like the sensitive, non-scented, nothing in it lotion. Because I'm not sure about switching over to coconut oil, because I used coconut oil on my other son when he was little, but on his cradle cap and stuff. And it worked. So I was holding off and hoping it like goes away and just sticking with the lotion. But we'll see. I ordered this little sponge scrub brush thing for, it's supposed to be for cradle cap, and or you can just use it to wash your baby with. So that's what I ordered. I ordered off of Amazon. It hasn't came in yet. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, his skin is like a mess. And they said he had some other like skin conditions. He has birthmarks in certain places, and he has some of the same birthmarks that my son has. My other son. But other than that, he's been great. Great little boy. And after they did all that, we finally got taken to our room. And it was a nice room. It was a different side of the hospital than I was the first time. And a smaller room. This room was so small. The last time, I don't know how I got so lucky, but they gave me like the handicap room, so it was big. And there was enough room, you know, to get around in a wheelchair. And so I even had my own personal shower, and I didn't even use it. And this time I had like a shared shower, and I didn't use it either because it was a shared shower. And I thought it was weird because I could hear the people next to me when they took a shower. So I was like, oh, I'm not getting in there to take a shower because they're going to hear me. So yeah, I didn't take a shower there. But, and all the nurses were so nice there, just like the first time. I had no problems. I feel like they were more attentive this time than they were last time. Like, they actually did come in at a great, like, intervals. And last time, sometimes those women wouldn't come at all and check on me. Like, their whole shift, they'd come, like, at the beginning of their shift and, like, towards the end of their shift. But when we were there, they'd come in the beginning, the middle, and end. I think mainly because they changed the policies, they had to come take my temperature, too. So I think that's why they came in more often. Because they want to make sure, like, I didn't have the virus. Or my baby didn't either, because they took his temperature also. Every time they came in to check on us. To give me my medicine. And all that. So, and everybody wore a mask. And I wasn't required to wear a mask. But from what I could tell now, like, watching other people's YouTube videos, they've been wearing masks in the hospital when they've been giving birth. And then for precautions, like they were saying, like if you give birth vaginally, like you could be there for 2 days or whatever, or 24 hours. I don't know. I don't remember. 'Cause I've never had a vaginal birth, but I think it was like 2 days you're supposed to be there if you have a vaginal birth. And then if it's not your first C-section, you're there for 3 days. And then if it's like your first C-section or an emergency or whatever, which I had the first time was an emergency C-section, I was there for 4 days. But since all this, they want to get people in and out because, you know, you're safer at home than in a hospital around people. So they were only required me to be there for 2 nights, and I was so happy. Like, I'm totally fine with that. And so, yeah, so we were in the room and everything, and my husband, he had to go pick up the kids. So luckily, I had my son in the morning. He stayed with me until like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then he went to go get our kids. Because our kids, they stay up till that late. Like, my daughter, her bedtime's 9 o'clock. And since, you know, we've been doing school at home, she's been able to stay up till 9. Because before that, when she was going to school, having to get up at 6:30 every day to go to school, she wouldn't even make it to 9 o'clock. And then my son, he stays up till like midnight. So he went and got them and took them home with him. And they went to sleep. And I was fine with that. I had no problems that first night because the baby, he didn't really wake up crying or anything. And because I couldn't get out of the bed still. They still had my catheter in. You know, obviously the first night. And then my mom, she changed her flight since it was going to get canceled anyway. And it did for the Tuesday. She switched it to the next day. So she flew in that morning. The next morning. And she stayed with the kids. My husband picked her up at like 9 o'clock in the morning from our little dinky airport here. And with the kids. And she dropped them off at home. And let my mom get settled a little. And then he left them at home and then went to the hospital to see me. And he stayed with me until that night again. And I think he brought them dinner. Oh, he brought them pizza. Because he didn't want my mom cooking the first day she got there. So he brought them pizza and they ate pizza. And then they ate it for lunch the next day. And my husband, he did go home the second night too. He didn't stay both nights. But he stayed he stayed pretty late the second night. Till like probably 11 o'clock at night. And then he came back the next day. Which was the day I was getting out of the hospital. And they said discharge is usually at 11. But it wasn't. We didn't leave the hospital till like 5 at night. Or 5, in the afternoon. It's still daylight outside. Because we had to wait to get everything cleared. Like they had they had to do his hearing test because he failed in one ear the first day. Yeah, he still had a few more tests he had to pass before we could leave. And he did leave. Or we did leave, obviously, by 5. And, yeah, I was so happy to get out of that hospital. And then the nurse, she was like, if you want to, you can, like, go take your stuff down to the car. Because my husband, I don't know why he didn't bring the car seat in the morning. Because he didn't. I don't know what he was thinking. The car seat was in the car. He put the car seat in the car. Because it wasn't, because we left, did we bring it with us? Yeah, we put it in the car, and I don't know why he came up and didn't bring it with him the first time, so he had to go make a trip down there either way. So the nurse was like, yeah, you can, and she gave us a little shopping cart, and you put your stuff in, because I guess some people have like tons of stuff. I just had a suitcase and like an extra bag, and then a bag full of, like, all the extra stuff they gave you. Like, that you could take home with you. Like, the pads and the mesh underwear. And diapers. All that stuff. And then, yeah. So, and he went to take that down. And then he comes to come back in. And then they're like, no, you can't re-enter after you left. Because apparently they had changed the rules that day. And didn't tell the nurses or anybody that you couldn't re-enter, and there was no sign saying like once you leave you can't come back in. But they let him come back in because obviously I can't just be stuck in the hospital, and they had to bring me the baby carrier because You can't leave the hospital without that. Like, they check it to see if your baby's in it correctly. And so they let him come back up. Cause he was just in there. And I'm like, that's kind of a silly rule because he had been going in and out the whole time. And so we were like, so when he came back up, he's like, he told the nurse, like, lady, they just told me once you leave, you can't come back. And she was like, oh, wow, they must have just did that today. She was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. And we're like, we totally understand, like, this is like, you know, people are changing the policies as they go because we don't know, like, how this is panning out. So I was so thankful that I was in and out before that rule because my husband needed to go home, obviously, like after I had given birth, to go pick up my mom from the airport and take care of the kids because there was nobody to keep them that night because my in-laws had to go to work the next day. Like, they were essential people at their jobs too. They couldn't just stay at home, you know, with my kids. I mean, if it was like a big emergency, yes, I guess they could take off and stay with them, but that wasn't the plan, you know. And so yeah, so I'm so glad they did, like, they changed their rule afterwards. And I've heard, like, other hospitals, they even changing rules about people coming to stay with you. Like, they were not letting people stay with people anymore. And yeah, so I was like, yay, I'm in and out of this place before all these rules and they get all strict about everything. And, you know, obviously I didn't want to stay there and put myself and my baby at risk either being in there. Because I don't know if there was any other mothers that came in that did already have the virus. Because obviously they're going to treat them too, you know. Like, I'm sure they probably had them on another wing. And not the same nurses were probably seeing them that were seeing me and my baby. But you just never know. And, yes, I'm thankful we made it through all that. And we've been at home hibernating. I've only left for appointments, his appointments, and then now like my appointment. Since I just had my appointment, which I'm gonna make that another video for you guys, and I'll probably be wearing the same thing, but this is probably a long video. That's why I'm not putting it all in this video. But anyways, thanks for watching, and please check out my future videos that I just told you about. And it'd be great if you liked and commented on this video. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to share your experience if you had given birth during this crazy time. And yeah, thank you. Thank you all for watching. And bye.